What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the 100th YouTube video of the Coach and the Couch Potato, brought to you in part by the Barn Baseball and Softball Academy. As always, I am Jeremy the Couch Potato. Opposite side of the screen, we have a very dapper-looking Coach Slate tonight, and it's wild to think that this is our 100th YouTube vid. So we're going to do some fun stuff tonight. We've got some Mount Rushmores. We've got some what-ifs and a really cool debate that I think is probably where we should start off at.
Yeah, absolutely.
2014 versus 2024. Both teams won the Natty. Who wins? What's the point spread and why?
Dude, this is tough. This is like really tough for me because that 2014 team, I don't like picking against them. I don't like picking against them. You got two teams who were both destined, right? That we had the injury to JT. We get this nice run from Cardell, and all these great things happen, right? Well, then we get this loss to Michigan. And then Will Howard starts playing out of his mind, and then boom, we play some of the best football ever. But I can't pick against this 2024 team. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I think they're playing some of the best football that I had seen. I can't pick against J.J. Smith. I mean, I just don't think anybody on that 24 team would have been able to handle, or 14 team would have been able to handle them. I know that sounds so disrespectful, and I'm sorry to any of the defensive backs on that team. Tyvis Powell, if you read this or hear this or see this, I know you're probably going to hate it, but it is what it is, man. None of you guys are stopping him. There's no slight on anybody, but yeah, man, I gotta go with the 24 team. I think they win by 2 scores, man. I do think they would struggle against the run. I do think they would struggle with Zeke a little bit, but gosh, I think the big playability from the 24 team is just too much for the 14 team to overcome.
This is scary. So I have my note sheet.
Yeah.
And I have the 2024 team. I would have set the point spread going into the game at 7.5.
Okay.
With
all right.
With the 24 team favored.
Yeah.
I wrote down a score of 42-28, 2024.
Yeah.
And I wrote 3 reasons. And I thought about this at work today a little bit. Reason number 1 is the 2014 DBs could not cover the 2024 receivers. And luckily, I think, like you mentioned, Tyvis is a real one. Tyvis would tell you, I ain't guarding JJ. So I had that. The 2024 team's running game, I think, would give that team fits. If you look back to the Alabama game that year, for whatever reason, Lane Kiffin and Nick Saban went away from the run in the second half, and it cost them.
No idea why they did that.
Because honestly, if they keep running the ball, I don't think Ohio State wins.
Yeah.
And then I actually put I don't think Zeke goes off. You know, Zeke might still get 100, 125, but he's not doing what he did. So it's a really cool debate, though, because like you said, both teams were destined. They had that galvanizing moment. But yeah, I just think that the 24 team is too good.
And I think the other part of it too is I know Jim Knowles is not our favorite anymore, but I do think he would have done a lot to give Cardale a lot of issues, and he would have changed the picture for Cardale and done some different things that would have limited him from going downfield. There are some, Devin Smith, there are some big play potential. IGB would have probably gotten a couple pass interference calls against
100%
against Devin Smith, right? Those things are in play. There's no doubt about it. But I just, man, this 24 team, those last 4 games, it was some of the best football all around that I had seen, and I just don't think that 14 team could have matched it. So That's why I had to go with them. But man, that would have been a fun one, man. I just think Zeke. I think Zeke has the potential to be an equalizer if they get that run game going.
Yeah, Denzel Burke and Michael Thomas. That would have been, or Iggy and Michael Thomas. As far as a trash talking session, that would have been bonkers.
That would have been elite.
But yeah, I thought that was a great question when I saw that one pop up. So I'm going to lead that into, it's not really a Mount Rushmore topic, but somebody did ask us, to kind of rank the championship seasons. Well, we've only had 3 in our lifetime.
Yeah.
So it's not, it can't really be a Mount Rushmore. Obviously the 02 season, 14 and 24. What's wild is when you really start looking at each of those seasons, how special they each were. So my rankings probably are going to surprise some people.
Okay.
I'm going to start at the bottom.
All right.
And I'm going to put the 2024 season as the third one. For the simple fact, we were supposed to win this natty.
Yeah. Yeah.
We Ohio State was the best team in the nation on paper, and they finally played like it, and they got a natty.
That's a good point.
That is the sole reason.
Yeah.
Number 2, I'm gonna put the 14 season. After that Virginia Tech game, it's like we are in bad shape, y'all. But we saw JTB come into his own. But as much of a warrior as JT Barrett is, I still tell you, we do not win that natty if he's the quarterback.
Okay.
Okay. And then number 1 for me is the 02 season.
Yeah.
The Ohio State team that year was just true Big Ten football. Smash mouth. Good quarterback play. Like Craig Krenzel was not great. Let's be honest. Now his son, great baseball player.
Yeah, he is.
And then obviously the icing on the cake was we broke Miami that season.
Yeah.
We didn't stand a chance. I think we were 14-point underdogs going into that game.
Yeah.
And to come out and just physically dominate them. Now, I will say, if Willis McGahee gets hurt, I don't know that Ohio State wins.
Yeah, that get hurt. Yeah, that would have been tough, man. That Miami team was pretty special.
They were so good. But if they call the hold with 2 minutes to go, the whole end zone thing doesn't matter. But that's where I will leave that at.
Okay, that's good. I like the point that you made with the 24 team, and we were supposed to do this. I like that. So for me, this is tough, man. This is tough. So this is tough because all 3, like you said, they all have so much meaning. But I had to look at it from a selfish perspective, right? So for me, Braxton Miller is my favorite Buckeye of all time. Like for me, it's not even close. And so the 14 championship was kind of bittersweet for me because I wanted my guy to be out there. And I understand, it sucked. He got injured and all those things, but I wanted my guy to be out there. And so that we'll get into this later when we do our what-ifs. But because my guy wasn't out there, and I know this is what makes it special, but selfishly, I wanted him to be the reason why we won a natty. So that's going to be why I rank it number 3 for me, but it was still a special season. The 02 season, I'm going to put at number 2. All right. Now, I know people are going to be like, what are you thinking? Why are you doing that? I think that team was just truly destined. Like you go back to the Purdue game, some of the ways that we found ways to win ugly, disgusting, true trestle ball games. It was just like I remember watching that game at our guy Brett Payne's house, and I just knew we were going to win. It didn't. I just knew it. We were going to find a way to win that game. What makes this 24 championship number one for me is because that pressure, right? If Ohio State lost in 02, we were expected to lose, right? If Ohio State lost in 14, you didn't have your starting quarterback. You're on your third string quarterback. Ryan Day loses his job if we don't beat Tennessee. Like Ryan Day potentially does not have a job if we don't beat Tennessee. Like, so jobs were literally on the line and they had to go out and get it done. And to see a group of guys come together and to make that playoff run when you know that so much is at stake and there's just so much tension rising and you feel it, like you can just feel it in Columbus and you can just feel it from the fan base. And to see the guys rally behind their coach and to go out there and get it done. Like for me, from the coach perspective, to see a group of kids rally behind their head coach makes this 2024 championship that much more special for me because that talks about culture. And that's just one of the things that I'm so passionate about is just building a winning culture through the ugliness, through the storms, through the fire, through the tornadoes, through the hurricanes, all those things. They were still able to push through and weather that storm and push through all that pressure and still find a way. Even though we all expected them to, they still found a way to go get it done. So that's one of the reasons why this 24 team will always be like top of the line for me, because that's not an easy thing to do, man. And they just found a way to just go do it. And in the playoffs, they made it look easy.
Yeah, they really did.
Yeah.
So that leads us to the first Mount Rushmore. You know, we talked about a whole lot of games kind of right in there. Our four most memorable games as a Buckeye fan. And I will let you go first.
Okay. So this was a tough one. All right. The first game I'm going to lead off. I know I just said this wasn't, the top game for me when it came to national championships, but the Miami game was a memorable game in 2002 for me. And it should be up there because of the talent that was on that Miami team.
Yes.
I just think back to Ed Reed and Sean Taylor. Like I can't even wrap my head around those two being in the same defensive backfield and having Jonathan Vilma and just like I can't even think about the talent that's on that team, and the Buckeyes found a way to go get it done. And so like that, unbelievable. Like I cannot believe that happened. So that one will always be a memorable game. Obviously the Willis McGahee, Will Allen hit, like those are things that will always be embedded in my mind. The Maurice Clarett fumble after the interception, like those things were crazy. Now this next one, again, Braxton Miller's my guy. This was not really a big game in the grand scheme of things, but it was a big game for the future of our program in a really tumultuous season when we were, down in the dumps when we went 6-7. And that is the Wisconsin game against Russell Wilson when Braxton Miller throws to Devin Smith for the tutty to win the game. That was, what was that, 2009, I believe? Like that was that 2009 or 2010? 2010.
11.
I don't know what.
It was 11.
That was 11. There we
go. 09 was the white alternates against me. That's how I have to do this year.
Yeah. There we go.
We're the Reds. 11. We weren't.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so there we go. Gosh, I get them all mixed up. That's how old I'm getting. That game was unbelievable from the sense of you got this young quarterback who's got the weight of all the Buckeye Nation on him. Like, he stuck with his commitment. The guy who recruited him is not there, and he's still going to stick through it. Doesn't know what the future is going to hold, and he comes out and he beats this ranked opponent. And just to do that in such a crazy way was awesome. So that will always be a memorable game. Obviously, number 1 versus number 2 Michigan game, phenomenal. Troy Smith coming out, hands up, like the fist up in the air. Never forget that moment. And then the 4th one for me, the Tennessee game from this past year. Truly had no idea what we were going to get, man. Like truly had no idea what we were going to get. When those guys came out with their shirts off from Tennessee, I was like, man, I don't know. Like we saw that orange. I'm like,
yeah,
what are we going to get? And we just freaking curb stomped them. And that was like, wow. So those are my 4 most memorable Buckeye games for me. So those are my top 4.
So we have 2 of the same 4.
Okay.
Number 1, 03 Fiesta Bowl. I kind of hit on it in the championship season. As my involvement, I guess you would say, in college football and with social media and seeing different fan bases. I mean, seeing again, it goes back to we broke Miami. But it's more about the level of talent on the field in that game. Like you said. And basically everything you said were my points there. So I will not stay too far into that one. Number 2, the 2014 Sugar Bowl against Alabama.
Here we go.
They got the SEC monkey kind of off the back of the program. I mean, you had the Sugar Bowl against Arkansas, the Ryan Mallett game, RIP. But it just wasn't the same. It's one thing to beat a let's just say a mid-tier program like Arkansas. It's another to go beat the GOAT Nick Saban.
Yeah.
In New Orleans, in a very hostile environment.
Yeah.
06 Michigan at number 3. For no other reason than it's so rare for a game to live up to the hype. And that game was everything it was supposed to be.
That was fantastic.
Number 4 is going to surprise some people, especially our guy, John Ratliff. 2017, Penn State.
Okay.
I am a notorious JT Barrett. I don't want to say a hater because it's never been a hate thing, but that was the game that truly made me realize how special JT Barrett was.
Oh, yeah.
To put that team on his shoulders and will them to a victory. That throw to Marcus Ball was,
it's fantastic, man.
It was crazy,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my top 4. Obviously that list could go on forever.
Yeah.
There's memorable moments and there are memorable losses. 05 Texas, for example.
Oh,
I've
my
never
gosh.
seen Columbus, Ohio packed to the brim the way that it was that day.
Yeah.
There was burnt orange everywhere. I mean, I'm talking like 3 a.m. on Friday night, burnt orange everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's wild though. So somebody had asked about our biggest what ifs. Earlier we had done an episode on some what if stuff. I don't think there's a whole lot of overlap on my part. But I broke it down into 2 different ones. I did what ifs as far as players go.
Okay.
So basically for me, these are guys who 3 of the 4 are because of injury. And then obviously number 1 we did talk about in that episode, but if you're going to talk about Ohio State what ifs, you can't not talk about Maurice Claret.
Yeah, that was one of the ones I have down too.
The guy was so far in front of his time.
Yeah.
It's pretty self-explanatory, really.
Yeah.
Number 2 is a name that I'm going to guess half of the people that watch this episode won't recognize, and that's Mike D'Andrea.
Yeah. He was stud, man.
Stud. Linebacker from Medina.
Stud.
Just could not get healthy.
Yeah.
Number 3 could have actually been number 2, Brian Snead.
Okay.
This dude was a dog.
He was.
Number 4 ranked running back in the country. It just never clicked at Ohio State. I think he went to Coffeyville. He went to a JUCO. and then, did well out there. You could put the late Jamal Berry in that category as far as running backs with what Marcus Crowley. I mean, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
And number 4, Court Williams, a guy who just finished his time in the program.
Yeah.
I will never forget, I think this was after Court's freshman year. I had a player tell me, because you are going to love watching Court Williams play.
Yeah.
And then tore his ACL. And honorable mention, Cameron Babb.
Yeah. Yeah, Cameron Babb was a guy that I was very excited about coming out of high school. Obviously his story turned out a little bit different, but, he's working in the athletic department down at Ohio State, doing phenomenal things.
Yeah.
Had a chance to meet him a couple times. One time recently at spring practice, and he was leading a tour with the president and the AD, and he was some guests, and he was just killing it, man. So although his career ended up differently, he's going to find a lot of success in life. So my list is kind of all over the place. There's obviously Maurice Clarett. I don't need to rehash that one. We all, every Buckeye fan will wonder what if he would have just been able to play for 3 seasons, 4 seasons, what would he have accomplished? That's always going to be the question. My first big what if, though, what happens if Braxton would have been able to stay at quarterback? Is it really a competition at quarterback between Cardale and JT?
Right.
If Braxton's able to come back that season and play quarterback, what does Urban do? Because we know Urban's a very loyal guy, and we know why. Urban can say what he wants. Okay, it's Ohio State. It's Ohio State. It's Ohio State. Yep. But in my gut, in my heart, I feel Urban came to Ohio State because he had the opportunity to coach Braxton Miller, and he knew he could win a lot of games with that guy.
Yep.
And so if Braxton would have been able to stay at quarterback after that injury, what would he have done? That's always been a question of mine, because
for sure
it would have been tough to keep him off the field, in my opinion, based on what he had done in the years prior. So that's one of my big questions. The next question, you kind of asked this a little bit earlier. What if JT doesn't get hurt that national championship year? Do we go on that run? Does JT's legacy look a little bit different at Ohio State? JT's an absolute legend. He's, favorite Buckeyes, it's Braxton Miller and JT for me. But does his legacy look a little bit different? Does he need that 2017 win to cement his legacy? Or does he go into the college football playoff and do what he needs to do? Does he go into the Big Ten championship, and do we still beat Wisconsin? Instead of 59-0, we beat them 38-0, right? And JT rushes for 250 yards. Like, do those things still? Yeah. Do we still do those things if he stays healthy? And then the last one, what happens to Urban's legacy if JT is spotted short against Michigan? What happens to Urban's legacy then? Does he still go down as one of these great, Buckeye coaches? What if he doesn't go to the Natty? What if we end up losing that game? Like, if the spot was short, what happens? Like, those are the things I always think about, because that's how close it was. Like, that's how close that game really was. What happens if that does that actually change the trajectory of what Urban Meyer was at Ohio State? Just that spot, that one spot, which was very controversial. And we all have the picture ingrained in our mind of Jim Harbaugh saying how short he was. Does that change the trajectory of Urban Meyer at Ohio State? And so those are my what ifs, man. I think those are, gosh, it's just crazy how much those could have changed things.
Yeah, for sure.
in so many different ways.
The JT play happened right in front of me.
Really?
Yeah. It went me and 2 rows behind me. You had Jerry Springer. He was there. I mean, I don't wear blinders. It was a first down. The picture actually is almost still after forward progress, but so real quick, my 4 that I wrote down for what if situations. Number 1, what if Joe Burrow wins the starting job over Simba?
Yeah.
That for Ohio State, I don't think there's a fall off because we saw what Joe Burrow did at LSU. One I forgot about, and it popped up in something I was reading. What if Ryan Day takes the Mississippi State job in 2018?
Oh, yeah.
That's wild to think about. Where do we go if the whole Urban thing happens still?
Yeah.
Number 3, what if we self-impose a bowl ban? Obviously you're seeing it with the team up north right now. Self-imposing is you trying to put a Band-Aid on things. They're going to give us some good content for the summer, though, because the hearing is coming quick, June 6th and 7th. And then here's a wild one for you, and I'm interested on your thoughts on this. My 4th what if that was never addressed, I don't think, on here. What if Terrell Pryor never plays quarterback?
Oh, buddy. I mean, based on his one season of wide receiver with our Cleveland Browns, I think he could have been one of the all-time leading receivers at Ohio State. I am not going to sit here and say he could have been Marvin Harrison Jr. or JJ Smith. I'm not going to jump out there on that limb, but I do think he could have been a first-round draft pick.
I mean, we get zone 6 early.
Yeah, I do think that. I think he had elite ball skills. I mean, you saw, I think it was a 2-point conversion against Texas.
Yep.
Him going up and getting that. I think it could have been. I think it could have been special. Terrell Pryor, man, it'd be nice to see him back at Ohio State someday. I'll just say that. But man,
yes.
That would have been special to see, man. He was an absolute freak of nature.
Yeah, for sure. So one other topic we're going to throw out there just because of it's kind of a hot news topic today in the sports world before we wrap up video 100. NFL athletes are going to be allowed to play flag football in the Olympics. So I saw this on TikTok before we came on. And I was like, you know what? Let's throw it out there real quick. So for flag football in the Olympics, you get a quarterback, a wide receiver, running back, 2 wide receivers, and a center. Your center is eligible for passes. I am going to let you give me your lineup first because I think you're going to either laugh or disconnect as soon as you hear mine.
No, I wouldn't do that. First off, sanction girls flag football. That needs to happen in high school sports in the state of Ohio. I want to see that. That's very, very important. I personally, okay, so there's a lot of different ways you can go. The center position is very important. You got to make sure you have somebody that can block and is a receiving threat as well. So I'm going to start there. I'm going to start with Brock Bowers. Okay. Brock Bowers is a good run blocker. Could be a little bit better, but I think he's good enough to withstand some of the pass rush that we're going to get from the defense. But he's an elite pass catcher. I do think he could create some problems at the center position. We're going to go to quarterback. I'm going with our guy, Joey B. He provides, Joey Burrow provides just the right amount of athleticism, and he can just dot people up. And so that's the right person, I think, for a 7-on-7 situation. The running back, you need somebody that can catch the ball, obviously. And so we're going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he's just a mismatch problem out of the backfield. Initially, I thought about Alvin Kamara, but Alvin Kamara 3 or 4 years ago, probably. Right. But I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. At wide receiver, I got to go with Justin Jefferson. I just think he's, when healthy, I think he's the best receiver in the league. And then you need to, so he's our big play guy. And then our other receiver, you just need a first down getter, somebody who can just get you first downs consistently and can route people up underneath. And so I've got to go with Puka Nacua. So that would be my group of guys. I know it's a little out there with Puka, but I just think Puka in flag football would be a phenomenal choice. Heck, you could probably flip him and put him on defense as well.
So it's ironic that you say you could flip him and put on defense. So before we came on, and I told Slate we were going to talk about this, I had basically talked myself out of Joe Burrow being my quarterback.
Yeah.
So when I made this list, we got to keep in mind this is 3 years from now, 2028. So I'll start with center as well. I originally thought like a tight end type guy, like Brock Bowers. But because of the flexibility of being able to play somebody on defense, I'm going with Myles Garrett.
Okay.
He can block good enough. He's going to be your guy on defense. And I'm sure he's athletic enough to catch a pass or two if you need him to. Quarterback, you have some easy choices out there. Lamar, Kyler. I think Joe Burrow is a great choice. As a Buckeye podcast, I think Justin Fields would even be an option.
Yeah.
This is 3 years from now. Flag football, you have to be able to improvise, but you have to be able to throw the ball. This is really painful for me to say. I'm going with Cam Ward.
Okay. Hey.
He
can spin it, man.
He can spin it. He can improvise. I went with Jahmyr Gibbs as my running back. And then I had Justin Jefferson written down. But I want freaks as wide receivers. Garrett Wilson.
Okay.
And again, because we're 3 years out, Jeremiah Smith.
Okay. There we go.
I mean, wide receiver so hard in this, though. I mean,
it's so hard.
You got to do like Tyreek.
Yeah.
I think 3 years from now, you could see like Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah.
But I think that that squad puts up some points nonetheless.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
So yeah, that kind of ties together all of the stuff that we got sent in for this episode.
Yeah.
Obviously, we just want to say thank you. 100 videos.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
And we've got some stuff on deck. I think official visit season's coming. So the next couple of weeks, you guys will get a video from us talking about kind of how we think this class ends up.
Yep.
There was kind of a surprise commit this week, not to the Buckeyes, but I think Ohio State still stays in play. It's still really early, man. Official visit season is just the beginning.
Yep.
I know Ohio State fans are kind of freaking out about defensive line again, but Matt Patricia, very involved in recruiting.
Yeah.
So that's kind of sums it up for me on this one.
Yeah, man. I'm working on putting together our the official Coach in the Couch Potato 2 Deep, so we can kind of start getting an in-depth look of what we got coming back. Trying to get the right format put together, but that should be out in the next week or so. And so, yeah, man, just trust the process, trust the coaches. They got us. We just coming off a natty. They're trying to repeat. Everything will be all right.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to all the graduates this weekend. We haven't done a shout out in a minute. This past weekend and this coming weekend. And shout out to all the high school football players and coaches that are about to hit the ground running already, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah.
It's crazy that football is 12 months a year, but we love it. And as always, we appreciate the likes, the comments, the subscriptions. We are 8 subscribers away from 300 on YouTube, which is wild, for just 2 guys from Marion, Ohio. So yeah, we appreciate it. And as always, we will see you guys next week.